Hey everybody, it's Monday, another Monday podcast. I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. We're just I mean, I know what's going on, but it's like we're going to be back on a regular schedule. No, we're not. But yes, it is Monday, March 6th, 2023, and you are listening to Black Box Signal, the number one podcast in the known multiverse for video games. I mean, it's just proven. Like, that's just a scientific fact. I am your host, Chase Johnson, and always joined by my co-host, Brandon Gaston.
Hey, how's it going, folks?
Yeah, so what have you been getting into this week? What's been going on in the Gaston household?
Well, besides hopping in my DeLorean, gunning it to 88, and we're doing the podcast on a Monday, been playing a lot of Legend of Dragoon. Big shockers there for anybody. I think we're officially on disc 4 now. I was talking to you about it earlier. I'm not sure because it's digital, so it still gives you the like insert disc screen that you used to get back in the day, but it just does it digitally because I don't have discs, obviously. But there was like a quick flash, so I'm not sure if that really said disc 4 or not, but I'm pretty sure I am on disc 4 now. Just finished the Glacier, which I have never gotten that far in the game when I was a kid. The last thing I remember playing after going on the nostalgia trip was like kind of right before that. So that was kind of cool. Got to fight Lloyd. Spoilers, we kicked his ass. Actually, it's not a spoiler, let's be honest. And we were laughing earlier because I was telling you, like, all the stuff I read online, they're like, oh, you should be like level 50. And I'm like, level 20.
Right. You're like super underleveled.
But you know what? We make it work around here. So I'm enjoying it. Hopefully, probably within the next couple of weeks, I'll be done with it. I'm hoping. So it's been still fun. I still adhere to it's a 10 out of 10, bro. For $10, buy it. Solid buy.
Right.
Can't go wrong there. Other than that, I've been consuming a lot of anime the past week or so. I finished season 4 of Overlord, and then I started watching Shield Hero, which I had heard about but never watched. And they're both like, so they're not like a video game based on anime, but like like the premise of it is both of them are kind of like people, like a real person gets trapped inside a video game kind
So
of
it's
concept. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. or like for people that are into more
what a throwback,
with, like,
man. Dot Hack was so fucking good. So underrated.
Dude. Very good. I played a Dot Hack game on like the PS2.
That's how it started. It was you bought Dot Hack Part 1 because it was in 4 parts, and it came with your game, and then it came with a Blu-ray 1 hour like episode. And this wasn't of Dot Hack Sign, this was of Dot Hack. Now, Dot Hack the anime only took place outside of the game. It was just what everything was happening out, like, you know, trying to like basically the life around the people that are like trying to solve why all these people going into comas playing this game. And then you had your game. Dot Hack Sign was the opposite. It was just in the game world. It wasn't outside of it. So that's what I liked about that. Like, it was you had to actually watch. I mean, it sucked because you had to try to watch everything. But yeah, that's how it originally launched. It originally launched with the game that you played, which was just in the game too. And then you would watch the anime of like what was going on outside the game. So good.
Yeah, definitely. So similar kind of premise. Same thing with like Sword Art Online if people are into like more newer style animes, which love Sword Art Online. Once they started getting into like, I want to say it was like the 3rd iteration, like the gun game online, it lost my interest.
Yeah, I never got into that for some reason. It always seemed like it would be right up my alley, but I just never got into it.
I would suggest just watch like I think it's like season 1 and possibly season 2, where they're in the first game, and then cut it off after that, because that's probably the most solid part as far as that goes. But Overlord just finished season 4. I love it. Similar premise. So it's the last day of this online MMO game. Guy falls asleep. They shut the game down. And when he wakes up, he's trapped inside the game and can't get out. But he's trapped in his avatar, which is like a 7 foot tall lich, so he's like undead on top of it, and it's
Right.
hilarious. Like I like it because it's Sword Art Online's more, I guess, serious, where Overlord's kind of like more goofy in a sense, I guess. So that's pretty cool. I enjoyed all the way up through season 4. So that's been pretty fun. I know that they either have a season 5 out or they're making a season 5 for sure. And then started watching Shield Hero. Kind of the same premise, but kind of not. The main character is like a weeb, and like
So he's me.
yeah,
Okay.
and me. And he goes to the library. He's a college kid, goes to the library, picks up this light novel, and it transports him to this other world. And there's 4 heroes. So they have the sword hero, spear hero, bow hero, and then dun dun dun, the shield hero. And the other 3 people all say that this world reminds them of some MMO game that they've played online. And the shield heroes are like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And like, I was talking to my buddy Slick about it, and like, what pisses me off so much about that is like they straight like discriminate on the shield hero so hard from like day 1, episode 1, that like basically they turn him from a hero into like an anti-hero. He's just like that guy, like, I want everybody, you want to hate
That
me, I'll make everybody hate me, kind of a thing. So that's been pretty decent so
that's pretty
far.
common. There's another big anime that you just started watching again that goes down that road. We won't go into that. Mm. But well, since we're on the subject of anime, you also wrote down Tekken anime.
Oh yeah, so I did watch that on Netflix. It was like, I think it was like 10 episodes. It was just a mini series called Bloodlines that revolves around
Jin.
is it Jin? Is it Jin, or which one's the son?
They both are. It's Kazuya is one son and Jin is his younger brother, and then Heihachi's the dad.
Heihachi's the grandpa, and then there's the dad, and then I want
Oh,
to
I
say
thought they were
Jin is the
brothers.
son.
Okay.
No, they're father and
Okay.
son.
Well,
And
shows how much
yeah,
I know about Tekken. All I know is
yeah,
they get thrown
right.
into. All I know is all of them have been thrown into a volcano at least once, and that's all that you need to
Yes.
know.
Yes, and the 2 Kazuyas there both have the devil gene or some
Yeah.
outrageousness to it or whatever. Um, it was pretty solid. As far as if you're comparing any fighting game anime to any, I'm sorry, Street Fighter still has that shit on lock. The Street Fighter animes I watch are way better. Storylines way better. This was kind of more like CGI
I don't
kind
go to
of,
Tekken for the story anyway, so
right. Um, it was more of like a CGI style art, I guess, versus like your traditional kind of more hand drawn, which is usually what most of the Street Fighters I've watched have been. Um Solid. I would say it's like I don't know, 5 out of 10. I mean, it's not terrible, but they did do my girl wrong though. I'm just gonna throw that out there. They straight punked her out pretty hard. So
who's your girl in Tekken?
um
Nina?
yep, Nina.
Nina? I called it. I knew it. I knew he was gonna. I knew you were gonna be a Nina guy.
Hey,
I
when I
always
used to
played
play in the
as
arcade, it
oh
was
man,
Nina.
Tekken 3, it was freaking Eddie Gordo, the breakdancer.
Oh God, you would
The
be an Eddie fan.
heck
Fucking
yeah. Let's go.
Eddie and
Um
Horang.
Yep,
Couldn't
that was the other
stand
guy who
that
used to
guy
play as
too.
too. Oh my god,
Oh,
that's
how'd I
hilarious.
know?
That is
How'd I
hilarious.
know?
Oh man.
Horang.
So
Yep.
that was my
Hmm,
sister,
God.
and she won't care I say this. That was my sister's first crush. Was
Oh,
a video game
Horang.
character. Well, yep. Yep.
Nice.
Um
Oh man.
I'm gonna get into one of mine real quick since I know our next few topics are probably gonna take up some space here. I was on the subject of anime and video game anime. I checked back in with the near anime. I haven't watched the newest episode, but I saw the episode that everybody was talking about on Twitter. That had a lot of fan service. And it was so good. It was the first time they kind of deviated from the plot of the game a little bit, with how they introduced Emil. And
My
the
boy
way they did it
Emil.
the way they did it was really really awesome. So yeah, that's really all I got to say about that. um and I don't know what, I guess we can get into this one first. I finished God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah,
So
buddy.
and I
About
know
time.
certain somebody's been waiting to talk to me about that.
Chalk it. Let's
So
chalk it up on the digital list.
I bought that
Games
game.
Chase have done. Games Chase
Yeah.
hasn't.
Crisis Core? God of War, both released at the end of last year, and I didn't finish them until this year. Um, but cause yeah, I bought that game, got through half of it, and then got Crisis Core, so I let Brandon borrow it. He finished it, and then I got it back and finished it. So now we can talk about it. And so
Yes.
spoilers, I'm gonna use a time code where we're about 10 minutes and 40 seconds in. So I'm gonna actually use a time code to actually mark. We're gonna have spoilers from here to here. So if you don't want any God of War Ragnarok spoilers, shut it off right now because now that we've both beaten it, it's gonna be pretty unfiltered. So
Oh yes. The
um
juicy.
I guess overall, we'll start with like what did you think? Um
Um, I would give it a solid 4, if not a 4.5 out of 5. I mean, it's good. Loved it. Graphics spot on. The story incredible. The ending I thought was great. Um, not where I saw it going. Gameplay, I mean, it's the same as the one before. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I loved the new weapons, bro. That spear
the spear.
and
Yep.
the story behind it when he's like, "Do you know how to use that?" And he's like, "Bro, I'm a Spartan. This is the first
Yep.
weapon they teach us to use when you're a child." Like,
Yep.
yes,
Yeah,
oh,
I liked the
dude.
game. I liked the gameplay better than the 2018 one because it just offered more variety. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I liked about like when you got the chain blades, but it was towards the end of the game in the last one, so you could
Mm-hmm.
rotate back and forth with that spear. Now you've got three you can rotate in between, and you've got the different
Mm-hmm.
arrows that Atreus can use, and you've got
Oh yeah.
all your different special moves and everything. So by the end of the game, like you're just like you've got so many different ways to approach a situation. Um, the
And
story
you've got
was
Freya.
and
Freya to
yeah,
swap out from
when you get
Atreus.
Freya, yep, you got Freya, which she pretty much has the same moves set or a similar move set to Atreus, but when you don't have Atreus, you have
Mm-hmm.
her. So I really liked the writing in this game a lot better than in the first game. The first game, really only had that limited story of, it was really just, that story of just honoring their mother, honoring the mother slash wife of the family, and just spreading her ashes. This had more to deal with actual like
Yeah,
mythology
more
and
more depth
a
to it
lot more
versus
depth.
the kind of
I totally thought they were gonna kill Kratos off. Um,
I thought the same thing
thought
too, but
for sure. And then there was even
plot
a point
armor.
where like major spoiler here at the very end when like Ragnarok's just destroying fucking everything and you're trying to get out of there. I thought for sure they might kill Atreus off.
No,
Uh,
shoot.
like I just I was for some reason I was expecting that. But it was cool they ended up didn't. It was cool to see that they ended up. I won't say how, just so I can leave some stuff for you guys. But they ended up at the end splitting, you know, on good terms, splitting Kratos and Atreus up
Hmm.
to then possibly lead to having well we could still follow Kratos or we can just follow Atreus on his own quest.
Yeah, kind of
Um,
like the "you're a man now" kind of thing. Yeah.
Right, right.
Oof.
And it's not very often that like games of this caliber, like AAA, and like they can get pretty cheesy, but this actually had like quite a bit of touching moments, especially towards the end when
Oh
Kratos is
yeah.
like, I have to know to like finally gets to the point, just like I have to know to trust you, and you trust your judgment now, and you know more about the
Oh,
situation than I do, so you take the lead on this. Like see that gradual build up. Um,
I really liked right before Ragnarok, like when you're on the eve of Ragnarok and Kratos is like in the tent by himself and Atreus comes in, even though he's kind of like a man at that point, and he's just like, "Can I lay in here with you, Dad? Can you tell me a story?" Kind of
right.
like that kind of got to me a little bit. I was like, "Oh,
Yep.
still a
Going
little
right
boy
out.
at heart."
Yeah, right. And does that, and obviously you can say like oh, it was the night before a huge battle, but at the same time it's also I'm a man now, but do I know how to be one, like quote unquote
Right,
man. I don't
right.
even really like saying that term, but like just what I mean. It's
Yeah,
a coming of age story. That'd be a better way to put it
yeah,
is than
yeah.
that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did play after the post credits to where a certain character, we'll leave this out too, a certain character that doesn't make it um to his funeral. Oh, I just said his, so it's at least a boy, a male. Or is it? Uh, but yeah, so I did that part to get the second credit scroll. But yeah, overall, I would probably give it like, and this is coming from me who I did not like the original God of War trilogy. I felt like Kratos was just like a piece of shit which he is. Uh, but it kind of goes to show you that through this series, he's trying to like do something to redeem himself, even if it doesn't necessarily work. He's trying to like learn from his past mistakes. Uh, and let's face it, like Kratos had two emotions in the original God of War trilogy: angry and horny. That was it. Like that. Those were the
Um,
only two emotions he freaking went there.
I would just go with he had one.
Yeah.
I'm mad at you gods.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
and
it.
just ripping apart. I mean, there was a sequence in what God of War 3 where you're just like throwing like concubines into like a torture thing and like sacrificing them, and you just don't give a shit. Like, so Kratos is
Yeah, I
not a
mean,
good dude. But it was kind of cool to see like their this new take on Kratos and this story. And I'm saying for the next God of War, like especially with what happens. I mean, I'll just say this is a big spoiler. Thor dies, Odin dies. I won't tell you exactly how, but they're killed off. So this pantheon is done. So I want to
yeah.
see them go. Let's go ancient Egypt. Let's go like Shinto. Let's go some sort of like other pantheon of gods. Probably like I said, probably like a dead pantheon of gods that like isn't really worshipped anymore, because I could see how that could be a slippery slope of getting offensive if you picked like a modern day religion. But like there's a lot of like ancient religions. You could do like a Mayan themed one. You could do,
Oh yeah.
you could do so many different things now, and you can have that with Kratos or Atreus, like because they're split. You can literally have one go one way and one go another. The way that they set that up. But as somebody who hasn't liked, I don't like to put a rating on anything, so I'm not even gonna say a number. But I would say that I was pleasantly surprised, especially because like God of War 2018 played really well and had a cool twist, which was just finding out that Atreus was Loki. That's the only part that was like super memorable for me. But then this one, I'm gonna remember a lot more moments in, uh, just because the writing was just rock solid. So yeah,
Mhm.
bravo, bravo, Santa Monica. Um, but yeah, and then let's see. Well, let's go ahead and you wrote down top 5 video game soundtracks, which
Oh
is
yeah, baby.
interesting.
So I kind of wanted to bring something up because me and you always often talk about like, the music or the sound, but people probably think we're being a dead horse at this point. But it's a big thing for me. So I kind of was like, you know what? Why don't we just do like, I just picked a random number. So I was just like, let's do 5. It doesn't even really have to be in order. Um, I know ours are kind of varied because like you picked more like kind of franchises where like I really made myself pick a
Right.
specific game to make it real hard for myself. So like in no particular order, I have Silent Hill 2 on there. Absolutely love the soundtrack on it. The music, like the ambiance really builds that world. Um, I believe the one track's called for Fermata in Mystic Air. Solid, dude. Laura plays the piano, great track. They're really good. Um, I also put Resident Evil 2 on there. I will probably get dogged for that.
That kind of surprised me because
Because
I don't remember any music from Resident Evil 2.
so it's got a very sparse soundtrack, but they do have some stuff in there. So the save room theme is really good in that. I like that. And then there is one called any Resident Evil fan will know this when I say it, a real one. The marshalling yard is a dude slapper. It's so good. Um Obviously you're gonna agree with me on this one. Near Automata. I absolutely put it on there because I don't think there's one shitty track on that entire freaking game. It's so good. So good. And just like it plays that part of like when you transition from like one area to the next, it really does a good job of like making you feel like you're in like a whole new area just from the music alone is really good. Um, what is that, 3? I'm trying to remember. I've left my list upstairs.
Well, I can
um,
speak to that a little bit. What one of the things that I said was I said the entire Dragoneer franchise because I've played a little bit
mhm,
more. What I can say is like as somebody who is a musician, like that music, like when I was in game dev school, that was like one of the first games, Automato, that like hit all the tropes of like perfect environmental storytelling. So there's a lot to like, but
mhm,
that music totally adds to that.
mhm,
Sometimes like the sparseness, kind of like how you're talking about, like when you first land in the city, after the prologue, and you get that sparse piano, and then evenally picks
mhm.
up and and everything fits. Like you can literally pull a track and you can close your eyes, and I, at least I can remember where I was, like
Yep.
where I was exactly. And that's super, super effective. Um, I think me and you could both agree on this one too. Another one of mine, and I'll probably get this one will probably trigger yours, Final Fantasy overall.
Hmm.
I couldn't pick just one because there's good music throughout that entire franchise.
There is.
Um, so yeah, and you put down specifically seven.
7, yeah. It
Which
was hard choice there because, like you said, all of them have real great music on them and real good songs in them I like. I picked 7 mostly as the leg out for one I wanted to talk about just because, like, for me, it's just like you were touching on with, like, Near, is like, I can literally close my eyes and hear one of those tracks, and I know exactly right where I'm at, like, and
right,
it gives me, like, goosebumps almost, right? I feel like I'm 9 years old all over again in my aunt's basement playing on my cousin's PlayStation while he was at college. Like the memories are there. I remember that. Um, Tactics would be my close if I had to pick one right behind it, and that's where I was really fighting between the two because I love Final Fantasy Tactics soundtracks, just really good. I listen to it at work; it's on my work playlist, so it's a great game. But I mean, 8's got good ones, 9 does,
they all
10.
do. That's why
Um,
it was hard for me to pick. Um,
10 does, 14 does, 12 does, 15 does.
I see what you're
Yeah,
doing.
it's
I see what you're doing, sir.
I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about, sir.
13 had good music. It still had good music. Wasn't much
I'm
else
sh-
to like.
yeah.
And honestly, that game does get a lot of hate, and I do have like some friends that like really like it. I didn't hate it for the story. I strictly hated it mechanically. I hated that you were locked into your party until like almost the end of the game. Like that's what drove me the craziest.
And
Um,
it was very linear more than the other games, which I didn't really care
yeah,
much for.
yeah. That is my beef with the game. The story, I mean, because I didn't like the gameplay, I can say I kind of forgot a bunch of the story. But I wouldn't doubt that the writing was still pretty decent. I mean,
Yeah, it is a
like
Final Fantasy game.
yeah, it might have been weaker than some of the others, but like a weak Final Fantasy to me is still a good Final Fantasy.
Well,
For the most part.
look at 12. 12 gets hated on a lot, and I love that game. I
Yeah,
think it's great.
12 gets a lot
So,
of hate too, but I liked 12 for the most part. I never finished that. That
mhm,
was one I never finished, but
mhm.
um no, kind of speaking on this, we're going to just hit the trifecta right now. Another one of mine. So that's 4 for you. And since this one's kind of themed with it, I'm going to say something that is going to make some people happy and some people not. Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah,
Um
baby.
Kingdom
Mm,
Hearts has really good music because it's the people behind Final Fantasy doing most of the music. So yeah,
yep.
you get the remix of some Disney stuff, but you also get like really good like new tracks like the Halabashan
Mm,
theme, a
mhm,
bunch of like theme at the end of the world, which is a world called End of the World in one. It's
mhm,
Kingdom Hearts 2 probably has the strongest soundtrack out of all of them. But yeah, like that's another one where you close your eyes. It's like, oh, I can remember exactly where I was at. And
mhm.
like, oh, Kingdom Hearts. Oh, it was so good. And then it just, oh man, got weird. And then got bad because Disney wouldn't let Nomura do anything because it's Disney.
Shame on you, Disney.
Yep.
Shame on you.
Which is why I'm hoping they're like completely breaking from Disney with Kingdom Hearts 4. That's like the way that they're looking. They're gonna go
Yeah,
to a
good
bunch of
luck
Square
with
Enix
that.
world instead, which would be sweet.
Yeah,
um,
one can hope.
yeah.
My
Uh,
last one I would say is on playing to your kind of indie titles is Hollow Knight, and I can't rant enough about that game. It's still on my PS5. I will never get rid of it. The so everything about the game's great, but just like with Nier Automata, the music is what hits in that game. It's so good. It's got like your somber tracks. It's got like the Hornet boss theme that's like real more upbeat, or like the Mantis Lords fight. Like, oh dude, it's so good. I don't think there's a piss poor track on that entire game.
right.
It's so good.
Right.
So good.
Yeah, I need that's another game that's been on my bucket list too that I know I need to play, but like I just
Oh
how
man,
I am.
it's so good.
We're 7 episodes into this podcast. We've been doing this thing for about almost just shy of 2 months, and I'm pretty sure just the listeners already know how I am when it comes to games, and finishing them. But the last two that I have is I wanted to go full franchise, but in all fairness, I can't because I've only played one, and so I'm gonna say Persona 5.
Mm,
I'm sure all the other Persona games have great soundtracks too, and Shin Megami Tensei, but Persona has such a good anime, uh, jazzy, like it reminds me of like a slightly more like if you were to take the music from Cowboy Bebop and just tone it to be more like teen friendly instead of like all the way mature. And that's not even like a really good representation. It's just like making it a little take Cowboy Bebop music and making it a little bit more upbeat. That's what I should say.
mm.
It's so good, like so good. A lot of like lounge style stuff and a lot of like just different jazz, and it's such a phenomenal soundtrack. And it's like doing this all when you're running around like an anime version of Tokyo, which is fucking awesome in itself. Um, yeah, that soundtrack is amazing. And then going with my last one, kind of an indie title too, but not really. Tetris Effect, which is already a Tetris game set to music. It's a rhythm Tetris game. But the music in that game is so fucking phenomenal. On top of the
Mhm.
visuals in that game and everything else going off with it, I would love to play that game in VR. That's like one game that I'd love to check out. But yeah, Tetris Effect has really, really, really phenomenal music. Um, cannot say enough stuff about Tetris Effect. It's cool fucking Tetris. Uh, yeah,
Heck
yeah,
yeah. I saw a couple of your streams of it. I thought the music was pretty solid in it too.
yeah. Some of my streams too, I'll be playing something else, and then I'll like before I go off stream, I'll just be like winding down with Tetris Effect. Like let's do a wind down run of Tetris Effect. Even though sometimes some of the songs in that game are not wind downs at all. They're like, oh, we're just gonna tempo change like right here, and all of a sudden the block's gonna be dropping like 4 times as fast, and but yeah, that game is fucking phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about that and the soundtrack. Video game music's gotten really good. Long story short,
Yes, it
it
has.
has come a long way. Um, it's always had some good stuff, but it's just continuing, just like everything else, continuing to get better. Last thing that I kind of wrote down, and it's gonna spin into a news story is as somebody we're both big fans of this genre, uh, quote unquote, we'll call it a genre for now. But is the term JRPG a bad descriptor for what the games actually are? And this kind of, I was thinking about this because I was listening to a couple podcasts, and then Kotaku put out an article that the Final Fantasy 16 producer doesn't seem to love the term JRPG. And they said that he considers the genre term discriminatory when it first gained traction. Um, and it just kind of got me thinking that if you really think about it, Japanese, like if you're just trying to explain a game to somebody who isn't a game into video games at all, a role playing game that makes you can kind of gain some knowledge of like, okay, I can understand what that is.
Hmm.
Japanese role playing game literally says nothing about what that game, what that actually means.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. What do you think about that whole, especially when you got like the Japanese saying like when it first popped up years ago, like a lot of people were like that came up in the era. I don't know if you were like big into G4 back in the day like I was, but like watching it on X Play, they ripped apart every freaking JRPG. Like every single one. Not saying that I didn't like, some of the work done there, but like every JRPG, like they literally would constantly make fun of like tropes and everything like that. Kind of like how like anime used to get made fun of back then, and now all of a sudden
Yeah.
anime is awesome. So you can kind of see that thing, and that Yoshi P was the one who actually was talking about all this. So, and he's behind
Yeah.
14 too. So I don't know. I kind of think maybe it's time that we stop using the term JRPG and just call them
Um.
like for what they are: turn-based RPG, action RPG. I mean
Yeah.
that would be.
Um.
But what do you think of the whole thing?
I'm kind of with you on that. Like to me, I guess I don't know. I never really saw it as that way, just because to me, as somebody that loves that type of game, when you say JRPG, I'm like, oh, I know what to expect. You know what I mean? Kind of a thing. But I could also see where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Like, you're basically just singling that group out, essentially, I guess, which
Right.
realistically, I mean, it's just an RPG at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So,
It might have
um,
a style, but like I said, to a casual fan, that descriptor term. That's the other thing too. Is like to a casual fan, that descriptor doesn't help anybody. Like if I knew zero about video games and someone say, "Hey, this is a Japanese role playing game," it's like, okay, what the fuck makes it Japanese? You know what I mean?
right.
Like
Hmm.
that doesn't do anything. So between that those two things, it makes it pretty easy for me to be like, maybe it's just time to retire this term. You know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, most of the time, really, I would like what most people would call like a JRPG right now. I would just say, oh, it's an RPG. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It really wasn't even really a term I use much myself personally. But like like I said, when somebody would use the term, I knew what they were talking about,
Right,
essentially.
right. And it's because it
Kind of
was done for
those,
a long time,
yeah,
all and it originally the reason why they had to make that distinction is cuz back in the day the first RPGs to come out were all Japanese. And then it was like, BioWare coming along with KOTOR and then, the, Elder Scrolls games taking off and those ones that
hmm
finally like made like a separation between or distinct separation between a Western style. If anything, we should be calling ours just Western RPGs, WRPGs, or
right,
right, because
right,
they were kind of doing it first. But yeah, it went to describe a style, but now, like I said, nowadays it really doesn't describe a style because even what would be classified as a JRPG, they're all so different. Like, would you
yeah,
say Fire Emblem is exactly like Nier? Would you say Nier is exactly like every Final Fantasy? Would you say that every Final Fantasy is like Dragon Quest? Would you say Dragon Quest is like Persona? Like, they doesn't
yeah,
really like they all do their own thing now, or
yeah.
have their own mechanics that
Realistically now I feel like we should use the blanket term, just say RPG, and then if you're really kind of getting into it, that's when you get into stuff like turn-based RPG or like strategy RPG or something like that.
right
Right, you're not really,
character action RPG, like
yeah, you're not really basing it on like a culture or specific, you know what I mean, kind of a deal, because that
yeah,
is kind of uh, not
right,
good, you know what I
right,
mean.
and especially when you
So
got
yeah,
somebody who's like from everything that I've seen of him, Yoshi P seems like a very like chill and rational person. And if he's
yeah,
even being like, I kind of don't like this term, like it kind of bothers me, then I think we should like have some respect and be like, you know what, it might take a while to beat it out of my vocabulary because I'm a huge fan of that genre. But if that's what they want, who am I to say I should like, I'm not Japanese.
right,
I don't know what offends and doesn't offend. So it's just better on me to just learn and grow and just,
hmm
you know, and and I just go back to like even the practicality of it. I know I've already said it a bunch of beating a dead horse here, but just it's not a good descriptor. It's not.
No, I mean, it really doesn't do anything. Stuff like we were just saying, like a turn-based RPG or like stuff like that, or like Elder Scrolls, I would say is like a first-person RPG.
Right.
That gives you a better description or visual image of your mind of what to expect from the game than
Hmm.
saying this is a
And
JRPG.
then if you
That
want
really
to
does
and then
something
if you
for
want
you.
to say something, you could be like, "Oh, and it has like an anime art style." Or something like
Yeah,
that. Like if you want to get into the
right.
art style, but like other than that, like like Japanese or calling anything anything like like that, like Japanese RPG, even Western RPG, it's like what the fuck does that even mean? Um, so
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I guess since we're already kind of into the news, we already had that Kotaku story about that. So we'll just kind of get into it here.
Hmm.
And I think this is kind of got. I mean, I don't
Hmm.
think I'll end up playing this because I got rid of it, and I didn't. I will say this. Well, let's get in. Elden Ring has announced DLC. Or they have announced Elden Ring DLC, and this comes from GamesRadar.com. Elden Ring's DLC has been announced in the form of Shadow of the Erd Tree. And that's really all we have right now. So DLC for Elden Ring coming. That is the one from software game that I've gotten the farthest in. Didn't beat it, but it was the one that I got the farthest in, and I didn't beat it because like it got hard. I just got sometimes I have a point in games where I'm just like, okay, I think I've seen everything that this game has to offer. And if it's not, we already know for me, I'm very narrative driven. And if I don't have that narrative hook, I'm just like, okay, you know, I kind of fizzle out. But
Look,
what do you think?
so first off, you're not really missing too much. I kind of feel like the very end of Elden Ring was kind of not a little
Well, it doesn't
lackluster. I
have
don't really
more.
want
It
to.
doesn't have a bunch of endings too, different endings.
Yeah, so it's got like 4 or 5 different endings. So like the ending part is kind of cool. I've seen a couple of them. Actually, I've seen them all because I YouTubed them
That's what I do
because
when I don't want to
I
play it.
wanted to experience that. But like the like whole like last boss and stuff was kind of like it was a little lackluster. Um, as far as the DLC goes, we don't know a lot about it, but in my experience from playing pretty much every game they've put out, minus Sekiro, which I still hate myself for not playing that.
Oh my god, dude,
Um,
that was the other one that I got the second farthest in. Sekiro is so fucking good. It is
I
so. It is
know
like
that's what
it is
everybody
like
says.
super hard tenchu. Like that's
Yes,
what it is. Like it's so good. Like it takes Way of the Samurai with like the stances and stuff, and tenchu. And did you ever play Neo?
Neo. I don't think so.
Okay, well, yeah, it's just yeah. You need to play Sekiro. Sekiro is fucking phenomenal. Um,
But
didn't beat it
from
either
my
though.
experience, all their DLCs usually pretty solid. I know that when I picked up my first Soulsborne series, whatever you want to call it now, I picked up Dark Souls 1 on my PC on Steam Summer Sale, and it was the Prepare to Die edition, so it had all 2 or 3 DLCs came included with it, and all the DLCs in that solid. Like pretty much every DLC I've ever played is usually pretty good. I know the one for Bloodborne, I went back and played last year finally for the first time. Hard as fuck for one. I'm just gonna throw that out there. That shit is like I remember going in there like, oh, yeah, I'm powered up. No, no, that puts you in your shit real quick.
Right,
But I thought the storyline was kind of cool. They had some cool characters in it. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I don't know if I'll play it. If I do, it probably won't be until it's been out for a while. That's usually my thing with that kind of stuff. Since it took me, I don't know, 4 or 5 years to play the Bloodborne DLC or whatever, but usually it's pretty solid. So I'm hopeful for it.
right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have my copy of it anymore, so I can't say I'd check back in on it. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe I could pick it up if it's cheap again, but I'd have to, I'd have to start all over. And well, no, I got my. Oh,
You're in luck because I still have a
oh,
physical
okay.
copy.
Well, throw that on the pile of games.
Right,
um,
right in there with my Demon Souls collecting dust because that game's harder than shit.
right. Yeah, that game was fucking hard, dude. I played that one too, and I think I made it past like the first two bosses and didn't make it any farther.
You made it further than I did. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. This next story comes from IGN, and my wife will be very excited for this one. Um, in an earnings call at Warner Brothers Discovery, they basically announced that Mortal Kombat 12 is set to release this year. Um, the exact quote from the call is, and there's lots more to come, including the highly anticipated Mortal Kombat 12 and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Games also set for release this year with ambitious launch projections. So who gives a fuck about Suicide Squad? I want to talk about Mortal Kombat 12. Um,
Solid.
I am
It's gonna be
really
solid.
excited because I mean, if that comes out this year and we get Street Fighter and we also get Tekken 8 either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, like in the fiscal end of fiscal 23, it's gonna be a
What's that I hear? Fighting
solid,
game revival?
solid fucking year for fighting games because the Tekken 8 has looked really, really good. Street Fighter's looked really, really good. I don't know if you knew anything about the latest Mortal Kombat trilogy from 9, 11, and 12, but 9 was like kind of like the reboot of the original trilogy, and then 10 was kind of like a new take on. It had some of the stuff from 4 in it, but it was like all the kids. The joke they make, it's the combat kids. It had like Cassie Cage, who was
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
the child, and then like nephews and stuff like that. And then in Mortal Kombat 12, the story, I say that this is like Mortal Kombat is still the best story in fighting games. And this is how weird it gets. In Mortal Kombat 12, I can't remember the characters because I actually didn't play all the way through it, but I think it's Chronica was the name of the character. Is basically like a time wizard, and there's
Yup.
two timelines. There's our original timeline from when we were kids, and the timeline that's
Mhm.
this new timeline. And
Yep.
all I know is at the end of it, a lot of people fucking died, and Liu Kang is now a time god. He's basically the new Raiden
Yes.
at the end.
Yes.
So they basically wiped the slate clean and can do anything they fucking want for this next like chunk of Mortal Kombat games, and I'm fucking here for it because like I said, the end of the story I guess ended with like the timeline getting like completely reset. So they can literally do anything. They could literally reboot the story and have Raiden be the Liu Kang role, or have like freaking Sub-Zero be the one that dies instead of Scorpion. They could literally do whatever the fuck they want, or they could make, I don't know, Cabal actually look good without his mask. So yeah. Oh, we have a visitor on the podcast. This is
Sorry about that.
nope.
My daughter.
You gotta be dad every once in a while. But yeah, I don't know. What do you
Mhm.
think about, where they could take
Dude,
a Mortal
pumped.
Kombat story next?
Pumped
Anywhere,
because, like you
literally
said,
anywhere.
the end of that last one was nuts. Like you said, you end up like on like a freaking meteor or some shit, and like yeah, dude, it gets absolute batshit crazy on
Yeah,
it. I loved it.
yeah, and
So
that's the cool thing
I'm
about those stories
excited.
now is it's just like they're not. Are they great? I wouldn't say great, but they're fucking crazy and they take wild swings, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So 2023. I mean, could be the year of fighting games. Um, Hitman developer IO is announced that they are making a fantasy RPG. This comes via Polygon that looks pretty Warcrafty. Is the name of the article. Um, Hitman developer IO Interactive is developing an online fantasy role playing game set in a new world with a new IP and will expand for many years to come. Um, I'm kind of excited for that because the Hitman games are really really good. But I don't know about a fantasy RPG. Do you feel like we really have room for that right now, like especially when you got Elder Scrolls Online, you've got
Final Fantasy
Final
14.
Fantasy 14, you still have Warcraft kicking around. I don't know. The Hitman guy's
Um,
doing fantasy.
I don't think. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a miss if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't think it would necessarily be a miss. It's just I don't know.
Look,
I
Final Fantasy 14 has like the fantasy MMO online thing on lock, bro. And I can confirm that because I've played through every single one except for the end of the new expansion they did.
Yeah.
So, and they're all solid.
Oh, this is just a small one I skipped over. The Mario movie is going to be out April 5th. I don't know if I'm going to go see.
Ooh,
Uh,
I got one for that because my son showed me today. The intro to the new Mario movie is, and I'm kind of irritated. They ripped off, remember the old Super Mario Brothers Super Show from when we were kids?
yes.
They took the theme song and stuff from that and remixed it, and
All right.
that's going
Nope.
to be the
Nope.
intro
I'm
to
out. Nope. Nope.
it. When
Shutting
you're
this
sinking
podcast
through
down.
trouble,
We're
you can
we're, we're
call
gonna
us
set.
on the
I'm
double.
getting the gas can. We're setting fire to the whole internet. Um, yeah, Shauna keeps telling me that I have like now that I have this podcast, it's like I have a professional, even though I don't get paid for this professional obligation to check
Oh
out the
man,
Mario movie. But I'm like, oh, I don't
I'm gonna
know.
have to with Eli. He'll
I
make me
don't
go.
know. Like I might.
He'll make me go.
Oh, God, dude, I just can't do it. Um,
Save us all.
yeah. Next story comes from Kotaku. Beyond Good and Evil 2 studio head no longer at Ubisoft. Uh, looks like last week. Looks like they were informed the managing director is no longer with the company, and it comes as the studio is facing a labor investigation by local government authorities over an unprecedented number of developers experiencing burnout and going on sick leave.
Mm.
Yikes. So, first of all, Beyond Good and Evil 2, that was like announced like what, 14, 15, 16. Like, fuck, dude, I didn't even know that game was still in fucking development. Um, oh
Dead
my
Island
god,
2, baby.
it says
The same.
last year Ubisoft's ambitious sci-fi multiplayer adventure Beyond Good and Evil 2 surpassed Duke Nukem's forever dubious record for having the longest development time of any video game. That's like freaking like 12 years then, dude. That has to be. I gotta look this up real fast. You talk while I look this up.
I mean, it's kind of like Dead Island 2, bro. It's been sitting in the oven so long that we all forgot it was there, to be honest with you. I never really played Beyond Good and Evil, the first one, I don't think. Maybe? I don't know. I'm not even sure what that's even about.
It was
Is it?
teased in 2008, dude.
Wow.
No, this can't be right.
Wow. Bro, that's like, how many years is that? That's a lot.
Dude. Okay, no, okay. It was revealed in 2017. But Jesus.
That's ridiculous.
Wow. Like that
That's ridiculous.
that is
Absolutely
so
ridiculous.
long. Like, I mean, I understand video games take a long time to make, but what the fuck is going on? Like, that's why I said I forgot that game was even in development. Like, I totally forgot. I remember seeing this trailer for it and being hyped for it, and then I fucking completely forgot. It was right around the time that they were like getting like the Vivendi buyout, like getting threatened to be bought up by Vivendi. That's how fucking long ago it was. That was like at the beginning of the PS4. Like, like what the fuck are we doing? Is that a game ever gonna come? I don't think that game exists. I'm just gonna call it right now.
Well, it sounds like it's not going to be. Well, they said it's no longer there, so not happening.
Ay ay ay. Well, we just saw how long that Duke Nukem Forever took to come out, and if that's wow, wow. Anyway, like, oh Jesus Christ, like, um, this next story comes from IGN. Konami is going to be at E3 this year, and they might be there with like, I'll just paraphrase this. They might be there with a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, and possibly a new
Yeah.
Castlevania.
Okay, so I know you don't like Metal Gear Solid 3,
Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence is good.
but
Snake Eater fucking
I
blows.
I loved Snake
Oh
Eater.
my
Loved
fucking
it.
god, dude. Let me just
Absolutely
fuck
loved
with an
it.
RGB slider for 45 minutes to get it fucking right. Fuck that game.
I loved
God.
it though. So good.
No.
So
No.
good.
No. It couldn't live up to the best game of the series, Metal Gear Solid 2. And it tried and it didn't.
That's just because you like Raiden because he's got blonde hair and he
I
looks
would
good.
play as Raiden, first of all. Get the name right.
Whatever.
I would play as
That's
Raiden
how
a
notable
thousand
that game
times.
is.
A thousand. Have you played Metal Gear Rising? That game's fucking phenomenal. It lays down the groundwork for freaking Nier Automata. Just saying. Same studio made it. It's so fucking good. I would
But
play as Raiden forever before having to play fucking Snake Eater again.
agree to disagree. Agree to
Fucking
disagree.
sucking poison out of my
But as
fucking
far as a new
wounds.
Castlevania, possible hype. Because let's be honest, sometimes they're a hit and sometimes they're a big old whiff.
Yeah.
Prime example, if you never played Castlevania 64, oh,
I'm glad I
I
didn't
will
have
never get that
64 for
time
that.
back ever.
I'll never get that. So next story also comes from Kotaku. Shinji Mikami is leaving Tango Gameworks. And if you don't know who Shinji Mikami is, he was the guy behind Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil. After being at Capcom, he founded Tango Gameworks, and they just put out that game Hi-Fi Rush that is being received really well. But
Now he's dipping.
yeah, I think
Weird.
yeah he's leaving. I mean he's been around for a long time. Um,
Yeah, maybe he's just
his
retiring, I
first big
guess.
game was in 1993. It was the Goof Troop game for the SNES, and then the very first Resident Evil.
Really?
Yeah, and then his very first game was Resident Evil 1996. Or this next big game was that
Bro went from Goof Troop to OG
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
That is so strange to me. Good for him though.
Yep, it looks like he also did let's see. He did some work on Dino Crisis, Onimusha, Devil May
Oh,
Cry,
really?
Beautiful Joe, and he did some stuff for
Nice.
and he did some of the stuff for the Phoenix Wright games. That's cool. So yeah, he's done a lot of actually done a lot more than I thought.
Bro, there's a sleeper. Beautiful Joe. That game
Beautiful
was
Joe is
great.
fucking good. Oh, so is Phoenix Wright. I'm just throwing that out there. That's for my buddy Zach. We love us some Phoenix Wright. Um, but yeah, that's all. So yeah, I don't know if he's getting out completely or it looks like they also just recently they were also behind Evil Within in Ghostwire Tokyo, which man,
Mm,
Ghostwire Tokyo had a really good look, but it was kind of meh. But
never played it. Never
um
played it.
yeah, so good on him. I don't know what he's necessarily going to do next. It doesn't really say. It just says that he's out. Maybe you made enough stuff, man. Maybe it's just time to retire and enjoy it. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. I don't know. What do you think, man?
That's what I'm
I
thinking.
know as a big
Probably.
Resident Evil fan. I mean, that's pretty awesome that he contributed that much.
Well, and a lot of like solid titles in that list. So yeah, good for him. I mean, if he's for sure, that would be my guess is he's getting up there. He's accomplished a lot. So I mean, if he's the one, and like you said, he created Tengu Gameworks. So if he's
Yep,
leaving his
that
own
was after
company,
Capcom. Yeah,
I think he's yeah, like
he made a bunch of money
that's
at
what
Capcom, had enough to make his own studio, which is like the dream of every developer is to
right.
start at a big studio, get your feet wet, make some serious titles, and then branch out on your own so you can kind of make what you
Hmm.
want to make, not what the publisher wants you to make. So, or the studio wants you to
Yeah.
make. Yeah.
So
So,
that would be my theory. He's just going in to retire, which good on him. That would be my theory.
yeah,
And if so, good on him. You deserve it. You gave us one of the greatest franchises ever,
right.
Resident Evil.
Beautiful Joe.
Yo, I love that game.
Yep.
I'm sorry, that game's
Sleeper hit.
great.
Sleeper hit. Um, Next story comes from Game Informer. Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda is stepping down. Yosuke Matsuda, president and representative director of Square Enix, is stepping down after 10 years in the position. The official announcement states that he'll be replaced by the relatively new Takahashi Kiryu. I think that's how you would pronounce that. Company director who joined Square in 2020. Um, says he became president in 2013. And he pushed for innovation in Square Enix flagship franchise Final Fantasy. And I just remember he was one of the bosses in Nier Automata. But I don't know. He what do you think of him, stepping down? I know he kind of stepped into it too by, stepping in the whole NFT mess. So that
Yeah.
was not a good look. So yeah, I don't know. And then, there's a lot of like if the Japanese games don't sell as well, there's a big thing like habit of this at Square Enix that like they'll take it out on the American games, even if the American games don't do well, or like they'll do better than the Japanese games, but they'll like be like didn't meet our expectations. But then they'll. So I don't know if he had anything to do with that. But I don't know. What do you think about changing of the guard at Square Enix, the shakeup?
Um, I, I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful. Hopefully, we see some good things on the horizon. Obviously, we did get some pretty solid titles while he was the president, so I'm not gonna hate on him for that.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes getting some fresh breath breathed into a company can be a good thing.
Right. Um, Final Fantasy. This is next one comes from IGN. Kind of going on. Final Fantasy 16 is probably getting a PC version, but not for a long time. Speaking on the Japanese PlayStation blog, Final Fantasy 16 producer, I'm just gonna call him Yoshi P because it's his name, like to release the PC version at some point. It is true that Final Fantasy 16 is a 6-month limited time exclusive on the PlayStation 5 platform. However, it is a completely different story that the PC version will be released in a half a year. I will make it clear the PC version will not come out in a half a year. And I believe it's just because they wanted to devote all the resources to the PlayStation 5 version. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that? I think it's a good idea just to kind of optimize that version first, and then be able to put it everywhere else.
First off, I just want to say, Yoshi P, we love you. Secondly, yeah, I'm with you. fine tune everything first before you start moving on and trying to stretch your title out to a bunch of different things. And three, this is funny. I don't know if you saw this or not, but I know I saw it on Twitter. They had an interview with Yoshi P, and somebody asked, "Would Final Fantasy 16 ever cross over into Final Fantasy 14?" And he goes, "Well, I'll have to check with the main dude at Final Fantasy 14, and if he says I can do it, I can do it."
Oh, that would be cool. I mean,
Spoil
they already did the near
spoiler
crossover.
alert, he works on both of
Oh
those.
yeah, duh,
So
that's right. I used to say yeah.
so that's what cracked me up. He's like, "I'll have to check with the creator,
That's what I get
which
for
is
reading the
also
next article.
himself."
Yeah, right. Yeah, he does both. So yeah, that's funny. Oh man, get Yoko Taro on that stuff too, man.
Oh man.
Put Yoko Taro on it. Um, but yeah, I think it's a good strategy. I mean, they're gonna have to put out the Xbox one pretty quick too because they only got the 6 month window. So they'll be
Mm-hmm.
getting it in the winter. Which honestly, I know a lot of people are like the console war BS, but hey, it gets more people playing Final Fantasy. So if you can play it on an Xbox, play it on an Xbox when it comes out. Um, that because that's
Dude,
all I care about.
that's my thing. I'm all about like um spreading the wealth, man. It gets more people into the franchise and loving a franchise that's near and dear to my heart, and I know to your heart. So
Yeah.
whatever. Forget your console war crap. Play on what you want to play on.
All right. Next story comes from Kotaku. Miyamoto says, "Don't worry about his Nintendo retirement. Maybe go outside." That's the name of the article. Um,
Maybe go outside.
Nintendo existed long before Shigeru Miyamoto joined back in 1977, and it will continue to do just fine after he's gone, the famed designer told NPR in an interview. And I think he just is like saying, like, if you actually look at Nintendo these last few years, they've been hiring a lot of new talent. They've had a lot of new talent. He's been very hands
Mm-hmm.
off with like Zelda and Mario over the past few years. He gives his idea and his direction, and then he kind of lets his new developers do their thing. That's how we got Breath
Mm-hmm.
of the Wild. You think he's really working on that? No, he's just kind of overseeing it and making sure everything is in line with his vision. His direct quote says, I really feel like Nintendo's not going to change, Miyamoto told NPR when asked of his eventual departure might change the video game company. It's probably going to be the same. There's, people on the executive team, creators within the company, and also people who create Mario. They all have the sense of what it means to be Nintendo. So if you think about it, he's probably hired a group of developers that think like he does, and then they hire developers that think like they do, and so on and so forth. And then eventually, like kind of like what he said in his direct quote, everybody kind of has a sense of what makes a Nintendo game a Nintendo game. Everybody that
Yeah.
works there kind of gets that. So I don't think, when he goes, it's really going to be a detriment. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
He's basically saying that Nintendo is Nintendo because it's Nintendo, not because of one person. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like that. I honestly like that. It's sad seeing him go because it's a beloved person, but
Right.
I I think they'll be all right. And that's what he's saying, you know?
Yep. And
They'll be all right.
he just turned 70 and will be selling 56 years with the company here soon. So he hasn't announced retirement yet, but he's 70. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how much longer do you think he's going to keep going? And you know another person that deserves their to enjoy the fruits of what they
Yeah.
did to the industry.
Yeah. Long overdue, you know?
Next story is kind of small, comes from GameSpot. Tears of the Kingdom
Ah,
is officially getting DLC. Um, and this caused everybody to kind of freak out on Twitter, like, of course, it's getting DLC already. Fucking stupid. The game's not out yet. I'm like, well, dude, every game announces DLC now. The last one announced DLC before it was out. This is just kind of what it does. I don't know why everybody got so upset about this particular case, but that just seemed like the most least shocking headline ever. Um, no offense to GameSpot. GameSpot does good reporting, but
mm,
um,
I loved your quotes here. Get over it.
yeah, I know. Like that's what I put in the note was like, get over it. Like everybody does DLC now. Like they before Breath of the Wild came out, they said that the motorcycle DLC was coming before the game even launched. So like everybody knew it was coming, but for some reason everybody's kind of bent out of shape here. Um,
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yes, you're correct. Lots of games nowadays, when they launch, will say there's going to be DLC coming for it. So there's not no questions like, well, are we ever going to get DLC? They already told you they're going to make DLC. The only
Yeah.
thing I can see is people worrying if it's going to be some bullshit, which I can't remember who it was, but I swear, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember reading somewhere or seeing something like on G4 or something where a game, when they picked apart the code, had the DLC already written into the base game, but it was locked until you bought the DLC, which essentially just transmitted a code to the disk to unlock data that was already there, which
Yeah,
is
but
bullshit.
that was like a long ass time ago. Like that doesn't happen now. Usually it's just like to help supplement their stuff.
Right.
Um
But that's the only thing I could see with them being mad as if it was an issue like that. But like you said, I mean, whatever. Lots of games announce that they're going to have DLC for them. It happens.
yep.
If anything,
Um
you should be happy.
yeah, that
You're
they're
going to
continuing
get
this.
an expanded experience.
Yeah, they're not just going to they're not going to just stop supporting the game after it comes out. So that's a good thing and keeps the lights on in the studios. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. Next story comes from Eurogamer. EA reportedly lays off 200 Apex Legends QA testers. According to Kotaku, QA testers were informed that they were losing their jobs effective immediately during a mandatory Zoom meeting held at 8 a.m. by their contracting agency Magnet Global. Sources told the site that EA's whole Baton Rouge QA team, the whole QA team, has now been disbanded as a result of the call, mounting to one former employee called essentially the entire Apex QA team was laid off.
Wow.
Well, here we go again. More layoffs, and it's for a big game, Apex Legends. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what do you. They
I'd
said
say I'm surprised, but I'm not.
they say they're gonna get 60 days severance. Yeah, I not much more to say on that. Publisher wrote, "We are expanding the distribution of our Apex Legends testing team and ending testing execution that's been concentrated in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, impacting services provided by our third-party provider." That tells me they're outsourcing it. I
Yep.
mean, which shocker, instead of actually just doing things to save money, you just cut jobs to save money. Um, Seems like we make the joke. It's our podcast theme. Every week we've got at least one story of, layoffs. Yada yada
Somebody's
yada.
always
Something. Yeah.
somebody's always got to get on the Poochoo Express, bro. It happens.
Yep. And it's just
Well,
funny, because we talked about, all the Japanese developers last week, oh, or was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was both of them, but they're actually increasing pay and trying to keep employees. Not the case here.
mm-hmm.
No.
Nope, not at all.
Next story comes from Kotaku. Forspoken Studio being absorbed back into Square Enix. Luminous Production merger announcement comes from a month after Forspoken's release. So Luminous Productions was the studio behind Forspoken, and I'm guessing because it did not do it as well, it's just that studio is now being absorbed back into Square Enix because they were just a subsidiary. So now Luminous Productions is just going to be a part of Square Enix. That as much as like I didn't really care for Forspoken for what it said, what from how it looked, that kind of sucks. Because a lot of times when that happens, you just kind of become a support studio for everything else. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
It's one of those like, nice job, little Timmy. I'm glad that you tried to make a lemonade stand, but guess what? You know.
you're now gonna work at McDonald's and sell our lemonade.
pretty
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
much,
it's
pretty
it's
much.
like yeah, you never want to see that happen. Like if you don't like it's one thing not to like a game, but it sucks like when a game comes out and hits like that, and then that's the end result. That
Yeah.
oh they can't work on another thing like that. And
One shot. And then they're like, well, sorry, you screwed it up.
yep, it looks like they are going to still be releasing DLC. But then after that, that's slated for the summer. But after that, that's it. That'll be the last thing that will be made under Luminous Productions, the official header.
Hmm.
So I guess we
It's
should
a
have played
shame.
more Forspoken. No, nobody should have.
No.
This one made me roll my eyes. This comes from IGN.
Oh god, yeah.
Ubisoft is
I saw
reportedly
this.
making 3 more fucking I'm gonna say fucking because it's just yes, 3 more fucking Assassin's Creed games on top of the other 6 that are already announced. Oh my god.
You're not keeping track. That's 9. Not
They already announced Assassin's Creed Mirage, Assassin's Creed Infinity. There's one called Codename Jade. There's one called Project Invictus. They're still their code names or whatever. Uh, Jesus, like I don't know. I they don't even sell that well. So why are you making that many? Like
look here. When you find a good dead horse to beat, you keep beating it. Clearly, I guess.
they don't have another Far Cry announced. They don't have another they don't have another Watch Dogs announced. They don't have what else does Ubisoft own? Uh
Oh, they did more than Assassin's Creed?
Don't they have another
Oh,
game that I'm like slipping on right now? They got like the Rainbow Six franchise, Ghost Recon. Bring back fucking Ghost Recon again. Like, do something else, please. Like,
look, the
give me another.
first
Go here we go. This is what I want. Give me another fucking Trackmania. Give me another Trackmania. They own Trackmania. Give me another Trackmania. Give me 9 Trackmanias. Don't give me 9 fucking Assassin's Creed games. I am so they've already had to reboot this franchise once already, not even a decade ago, and now they're rebooting it again. And I don't know, man. What would you want to see out of Ubisoft at this point?
dude, not another Assassin's Creed game. I can tell you that
Let alone
because
9.
the first like 2 I played were really good, and then it's just like, dude, like this, the rest of the game's just going downhill.
I'm an
Like
outlier. I really like the first one the best. And I
I love the
liked
first one. The first one's fantastic.
so I liked 1, 2, and then like the series of games that came off of 2, like Brotherhood. 3 was garbage. 4
Which one was
3 was the
which one
Revolutionary
was
War one.
I played that one. Yeah, it's probably the worst of them.
Yeah. Black Flag was the pirate one, which was actually pretty decent.
Didn't
And
play that one.
then Unity
They had a
was
Spartan
the
one.
one that was real bad, the French Revolution one. Syndicate was and that was the one during the like the Industrial Revolution in England. And then that's when they came out with Odyssey or Origins Odyssey, these new kind of ones, Valhalla. Um,
Mhm.
but there's nothing you can do that gets me excited about an Assassin's Creed game in 2023.
No,
Uh
no.
like I said, the only one that interested me a long time ago was doing like a samurai one, but then we got Ghost of Tsushima, so it's like too little too late for me. Um
Yeah.
and they have so many other IP that they could totally be pulling from right now, and instead they're just doubling down on the one that has been pushed out the most over the past almost 2 decades. Um like I don't know.
Yeah. It's too far gone.
Yeah. Last story here. Tokyo Game Show has been announced for 2023. It's going to be September 21st through the 24th. That's pretty cool. I think that's the first time since the pandemic that they're having like a huge one. Um, so that's awesome. They're gonna do a physical venue, a virtual venue, and you'll be able to catch it online. I love Tokyo Game Show. Obviously, being a connoisseur of RPGs. Um, I love me the Tokyo Game Show. I'm hoping we get something out of Atlas because it's been a while since we've had a lot of Shin Megami Tensei games, but it'd be cool to get like a Persona 6. Um, I don't know what would you be like. I know we could be like, oh, I'd love to see some more out of like the Square Enix stuff, but I mean we're already getting 2 Final Fantasies this year. I don't think they have more of Kingdom Hearts 4 to show, and I doubt Yoko Taro is going to announce anything. So is there any other like more obscure Japanese developers, kind of small, kind of like Atlas with Persona, although Atlas is pretty big now. Um, is there anything that you would be looking forward to at the Tokyo Game Show? Who might want to show up?
They're announcing a Breath of Fire remake.
That's what you'd
One
want as a
could only one could only wish. Those games were sweet, man.
could see more
I
Resident
don't
Evil there too because Capcom.
yeah. Um I don't really know, to be honest with you. Usually Tokyo Game Show's got some good stuff, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and especially with like, I'm sorry, probably E3 is probably going to be a dud this year. So, um, it's
Turd sandwich.
already looking real rough. So, yeah, I, I still don't even know what we're gonna do. When I originally launched this podcast, I was thinking, oh, maybe we could do like a talk over the E3 stuff, but then I'm like, there's nothing to talk over. So, like, like, and a million people already do that. But on top of that, there's nothing to talk over. So it's
Hmm.
like, you just want to watch, just go watch those guys because they probably do it better than we do. Um, but
You said you're buying us tickets to go to the Tokyo Game Show
what?
for the podcast?
Do you think I could write that off as a business expense, even though we're not a business making any sort of money whatsoever yet?
That sounds legit to me.
Yep, sounds good to me. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got this week, man. What are you gonna be getting into this week? Are you gonna be streaming at all? I keep saying I'm gonna get back to streaming. I'm going to get back to streaming this week. I'm going to. I'm making it official here. It's gonna happen. I know I keep saying it. I keep lying to y'all. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna hold myself down.
Out.
Yep. So what do you got going on?
Friday for sure. We were meeting for D&D, and then probably either Saturday or Sunday I will stream again. I don't know what. Might do Tactics Ogre because we haven't played that in a while. More than likely, if anything, probably be more Legend of Dragoon, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll play some Resident Evil again. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. Heck, maybe one of these days I want to do a Hollow Knight stream just so I can show people how sick that game is.
I'm gonna do more of Season. I'm gonna get back to that, and I'm going to be starting Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy VII, or Final Fantasy Origins, and I'm really tempted to pick up Like a Dragonation. I don't know, that game just looks goofy, and I don't know. Yeah, something's drawing me to it, but I'm not sure. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. But that is our podcast for the week. Brandon, where can they follow you?
You can find me on Twitter at EnrageMe with an H at the end, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/EnrageMe, also with an H at the end.
You can follow me at chasing_chase on Twitter. You can catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/chasingchasetv. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube at _blackboxsignal, and Twitch at twitch.tv/blackboxsignal. And we also have an email address. You can email us at blackboxsignalpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll answer questions about anything: food, life advice. Maybe not, because we're not the best at life advice, but we'll give you some great stories. And yeah, that's
suggestions on like our little like top fives we do and stuff.
Oh yeah, the little topics.
Suggestion for that.
Right.
Throw it in there.
We could do that. All sorts of stuff. You know, you can insult us. I don't care. But yeah, so that's been the podcast for the week. We're going to try to get back to our normal schedule. This was my fault this time because I wanted to finish God of War to have it for the podcast. That is why we're delayed today. That's my fault. I was being selfish, but whatever. I'm the host. I do whatever the fuck I want. And Brandon tags along. But yeah, this has been the podcast of the week. Ben Black Box Signal. And as always, catch us on our streams, and we'll be back next week. And stay safe, comrades.